Ho! Welcome to Milwaukee's Best NBA Podcast. I'm Aaron Fleece with two-time English. And we got quite a show for you today. We got some first trade news, first big trade of the year. And we got some other stuff to get into, like big Burglar brand. Oh man, I don't know what's gonna happen over there. That's such a messy situation. And I'm surprised they didn't. We were talking before the podcast. We were surprised they didn't. They're not getting their hands cut off. So, man, but yeah, and guess what else this week?
What's going on?
It's still Giannis Antetokounmpo still leads the league in scoring.
He's just amazing.
Four straight.
He's ridiculous.
4 straight weeks. Oh man, I'm so excited as a Bucks fan and an NBA fan in general, just watching this kid grow. Yeah, let's get into some news right away. So yeah, we mentioned before, LiAngelo Ball and his teammates from UCLA get caught shoplifting from a Louis Vuitton store, among other luxury brand stores over in China. While the team was playing, they were playing a game against Georgia Tech, kind of like a not preseason. I think it was their first game of the new college basketball season, and the Ball family. I'm never gonna call them anything but Big Burglar brand ever again since I saw that last night.
Swiper, no swiping.
There you go, drop the door reference for a lot of people.
You should put that picture up.
Appreciate that. I should have. You're right. So they're facing 3 to 10 years behind bars.
That's ridiculous. That is insane.
Man, what happens in China stays in China.
Literally. That's the last country you want to go over and mess with. Would you say that?
Oh my God, I can't imagine. Lonzo Ball said he hasn't talked to his dad or LiAngelo Ball since this has happened. So I think that's pretty crazy. You'd think he'd, maybe reach out or keep in contact with him, but
or maybe he's just lying and he's not.
Yeah, he could be. It's just kind of a stunt, make him, I'm focused on the game and blah blah blah. But yeah, dude, it's such a weird situation. I've heard like Donald Trump's gonna have to go over there or something and try to convince the Chinese government to let them off. And I mean, that's just scratching the surface with it. These guys are obviously going to face some kind of punishment over at UCLA. There's not going to be, I imagine that. I'm thinking
UCLA would be my last concern. So I would be more concerned with what's going on in China. What are they going to do? Are they even going to let them leave? I mean, apparently the season's over. That's just what I'm getting from it. They're not going to be able to get home anytime soon. They're facing 3 to 10 years. That's crazy.
Imagine that feeling. First of all, they're idiots.
Yeah, that's just stupid. Sorry.
Do that in the U.S. all you want. Not that we're encouraging shoplifting, but man,
especially LiAngelo here. Like that. Your family's got the money, clearly.
Right. What do you need to be doing that for?
That's stupid.
So, imagine that feeling, though. You're out, and you actually get caught. You're just fooling around with friends, and and then you're like, hey, let's go shoplift a Louis Vuitton. Like, come on. And then you actually get caught, and now you have these angry Chinese police officers looking at you. And then you sit in front and here's the other thing about the Chinese legal system. They have a 99% conviction rate.
Yeah, exactly.
So they can't call witnesses. They can't call, they can't do any of that. They're basically screwed. So basically, it's whether or not someone can come in and convince the judge or whoever is overseeing the case to let them off easy. Which
it might be pretty tough.
Right.
I don't know. Just gonna have to play it by ear.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to be just to be that age and facing a 10-year a maximum 10-year sentence for something so stupid. Man, I couldn't even imagine. But I have no sympathy for him. So
hopefully it doesn't take as long as the Ezekiel Elliott trial to figure out.
Right. Yeah, it's the biggest news in sports, are the controversies. It's not the players, it's the drama.
Exactly.
But, yeah, that gives us something to talk about, So next on the news, keeping it in the family tree, Lonzo Ball becomes the youngest player in history to notch a triple-double, and he does so against the...
was it by like 20 days or so? It was
it's
pretty close.
He just got it in, He just beat the...
Sure, we can give him that credit.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of... I'm not going to say I've defended him the whole way, but, I've been a critic of him for sure, but I've also been one to say, let's give it some time. And I think the more we give him time, he's going to put up more nights like this. I don't even have the numbers from that night in front of me. I can just pull that up real quick, though. Lonzo Ball. So he it was against the Bucks at the Bradley Center. Bucks still win that game, 98-90. Lonzo Ball puts up 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 13 assists. So that's not just barely a triple-double. That's a pretty solid triple-double, in my opinion.
He had a great night.
I mean, the Bucks probably didn't know what to expect. They never seen Lonzo or really anyone from the Lakers, especially Kyle Kuzma was going off. I mean, he only had 21 points, but he was still... It seemed like every time he put up the ball, it went through. It was a good game, though. I went on Saturday. It was a great time, man. It was a great game. But yeah, so it was cool. I got to see a piece of history, whether I wanted to or not, against my team. But yeah, Lonzo Ball. He's finally going to catch his stride, and can we expect more of this to come from?
We'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
And he was shooting the ball pretty well too. You think it looks weird, his shooting form? It looks weirder in person, man. I couldn't get used to it. There was at one point where he did this one-handed flick thing because the shot clock was about to go off.
God.
And he jumped off of one foot, did this weird. It was crazy. I was
his form almost reminds me of Michael Redd's, but.
Well, Michael Redd basically took the ball and tried to touch his butt with it. So, yeah, talk about weird shooting forms.
Exactly.
But, man, I couldn't believe when he did that. It was just, I was like, how does he get that much power off of just, the flick of the wrist, man? Yeah, Lonzo Ball, triple-double first of the season. I imagine we'll see a few more in the future. We got some injury news, and I always hate breaking this. It's not really old. It's not really news anymore. I'm sure a lot of people who follow the NBA really closely have already heard, but Jazz big man Rudy Gobert is out 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury. It's a deep bone bruise, so it's better than what it could have been. Beats an ACL, that's for sure. But this can be a big setback for Utah, man. They don't really have a lot of support as it is. Their offense has come through Ricky Rubio at this point.
Rudy's pretty much a team over there right now.
Yeah, he's the reason the Jazz are usually top 3 in the league in defense since he's been in the league.
Yeah, how many blocks a night does he average? He'll get you 2 to 3 blocks a night.
Oh right, yeah,
but if not more.
And
But again, one of the problems with Rudy is injury prone. He's very injury prone.
Right.
And I heard, just like when Gordon Hayward was over there. I don't know if it's their training staff or what it is, but they both at one point were very injury prone in Utah.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of the players. I think it's just the way they're built.
Yeah, especially Rudy. He's pretty tall too.
He's tall, and he's not exactly the bulkiest big man in the world.
Exactly.
This season so far, he's averaging just a shade under 14 points, 10.5 rebounds, and doesn't show his blocks for some reason, but I can get that later. But yeah, it's going to be a big loss for the Jazz. There's going to be some holes in the paint defensively, and we'll see. They aren't having that great of a season to begin with. They're 6-7 actually. So
in the West, that's not good.
Right? No, not good at all. It's early, but yeah, if this is gonna really put it's gonna really throw something new into the mix for the Jazz. They're gonna have to adapt, and we'll see if Derek Favors. He's gonna get a lot more minutes. So if you haven't picked him up for fantasy, do so now. But next on the news, Jason Kidd. Got a lot of Bucks talk tonight, man.
Yeah,
that makes me happy. Any excuse I get to talk about the Bucks, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna use it. So Jason Kidd, he was very critical of the refs last week. Bucks were struggling. They lost some pretty bad ones on the road. His comments came after their 124-119 loss to Cleveland. Basically, and he even said, while he was talking, he was like, "Yeah, I'm probably going to get fined for this," and he was right. NBA slaps him with a $15,000 fine, and that's that. I mean, but he does have a point. The refereeing in this league is terrible. We started, especially in the playoffs last year, but now it's just even the regular season. It's like, let them play. Come on. Don't need to be calling jersey grazing fouls on just because someone touches LeBron James. I don't know. But
why is it always got to be about LeBron?
Well, it's just the easiest one to use because we always see it. Fine, you want? I'll use James Harden.
There you go.
Someone else. Yeah, we'll blame James.
Guy
Harden.
who shoots the most free throws in the league.
Right. There you go. Yeah, there you go. You got a stat to back up that claim. Yeah, but NBA has been laying down the fines hot and heavy this year. We've already had fines from fights, and it's like, with all the money that players are making now, we're going to see more and more fines. I think that's the NBA's way of, okay, you want to make all this money, well, we're going to take some of it too.
Exactly.
And proportionally, it's really insignificant when you think 15,000. Say if Steph Curry got fined that, or he did get fined. He got fined $25-50 for throwing his mouth guard, or something.
He got $50,000 for
$50,000, but compare that to $40 million a year. That's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, maybe that's.
But who wants to give away free money? You know,
exactly. So Adam Silver, keeping right along with the NBA commish here, the NBA just announced that Chicago will host the All-Star game in 2020. That's kind of insignificant news. The only thing I took from it is Giannis will have to. He won't have to fly to the All-Star game this year. He'll just have to drive. So yeah, but United Center, it's a great place to host an All-Star game. A lot of players are from the Chicago area, and their families will come out and see them. And Chicago hasn't had the All-Star game in a while, so it'll draw a big crowd. I'm sure the city is rejoicing that they get to see the best in the league go at it, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll even try to get out there.
Yeah, why not?
And finally, to finish off the news portion of the podcast, don't look now, but the Celtics have won 12 straight since losing their first 2 of the season.
Yeah,
I can't believe it, honestly. Kyrie's just been playing out of his mind. Well, not in terms of putting up points, but he's been a team player. Him and Al Horford have really had some great chemistry. And I think the game against Charlotte where they came back from 18-1, I believe Kyrie was out that game. So with a facial fracture.
You know who I give the most credit to is Brad Stevens.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's an amazing coach, and that's the reason why he's in the NBA now instead of coaching college. Whatever chemistry he brought over to Boston it's working, it's clicking right now.
Oh, I agree. It's been a lot of fun to watch them. I mean,
and they'll definitely be there in the long run,
especially with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, they'll be there in the long run. This year, maybe higher than what most people projected.
Yeah, I had them going as a 5th seed this year.
What I'm really interested in seeing is how well the team stays together, especially with having such a young core, how well the team stays together in the playoffs. Kyrie hasn't been in the playoff series by himself without LeBron by his side, and that he's the main person on the team. So, we'll see. Maybe the playoff talk is a little too early right now.
Yeah, it's warranted though. I mean, this is a team that's definitely going to be in the playoffs, especially with the hot start.
As long as everybody stays healthy and they keep doing what they're doing now, even if they lose a few games, they're going to be there.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's too early to really evaluate teams in the beginning of the season because wins early on count. Like, say what you will about Detroit and Stan Van Gundy and that organization, how kind of bottom of the shelf they've been in the Central Division the last few years, but they're 10-3 right now, and those early season victories will pay dividends. They'll take less pressure off them, so that maybe they can afford to lose, like 10-12 or something. But I think the Celtics are in great shape. The only thing that concerns me is I've seen Tatum make some rookie mistakes, but then again, at the same time, I've also seen him make some huge shots.
Yeah, that's true.
But they have a solid lineup, man. I feel like an idiot for picking them only going 5th with how they're playing right now. But that's just right now. Maybe they fall off a little bit and they can't keep up this pace. It's very hard to keep up the pace unless you're Golden State. But yeah, man, this is going to be an exciting team to watch, especially Kyrie's basically been given the keys to this team, and Brad Stevens says, as long as you play in my system, go do what you want. I'm giving you, you're my star. Now, especially with Gordon Hayward being down, we need you to give it 120%. So yeah, man, the East is looking a little more fun than we thought, but Guess what's going on next? We got our first big trade of the regular season. First big trade, man. That's exciting.
Yeah. Especially that it's here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And
when's the last time we had a blockbuster trade?
Oh, God. JJ Redick.
Yeah, there you go.
What a toast. What are they thinking, man?
Exactly. So, yeah. And his first game here in Milwaukee is just, I was actually at a bowling alley, and I wasn't paying attention to the game too much, but every time I looked up at the TV, I saw Bledsoe doing something with Giannis, and it just looked amazing. Right. It looked like they've been playing together for at least 2 to 3 years.
And this provides some, not comic relief, it provides an ending to the story. Where was Bledsoe going? We reported, or we included in our podcast several weeks ago, the news of, what was their coach, Phoenix's head coach name?
Earl Watson.
Yeah, Earl Watson being fired. Eric Bledsoe's tweet. In fact, last week we were talking about that still, and little did we know, the next morning, Bledsoe would be traded to the Bucks.
Exactly.
Let's get into the trade details a little more. We have this is a really interesting trade the way GM John Horst set it up, and he had all the negotiation power in here because Phoenix was looking to get rid of an unsettled Eric Bledsoe. We were unsure of really what they could get for him because of all the turmoil in that organization. But
the reports originally they wanted Thon Maker in the deal.
Oh yeah, they wanted Thon Maker, they wanted Malcolm Brogdon. The Bucks said, "No way, we're not trading our
exactly.
the centerpieces, our young guys." And I don't blame him, man. It's John Horst. I mean, say what you will about his inexperience, but he's already made some great moves so far.
I love him.
Yeah, man. I'm happy.
I'm glad. It's a big change from a very long time with Herb Cole,
Yeah, and John Hammond, let's not forget about him. He's one of John Hammond's guys. He was a director of player personnel or something. I think it was player personnel. So when the Bucks announced he would become GM, a lot of fans and a lot of people around the league were, what can this guy really do? He's never had that kind of front office experience. But, I mean, he's working with John Hammond every day. He's going to pick up on stuff, and we've seen all this stuff, he's been able to do so far. So, I'm thrilled to have him. I mean, I didn't think I would be, but I'm thrilled to have him as a GM in Milwaukee. But yeah, he engineered, I think, a great trade. I mean, I'm going to credit him with all this because the draft pick, the Bucks gave up 2 draft picks in addition to Greg Monroe. A first and a second rounder. They're both protected. So here's how it works. I've never seen this before, this kind of format. So in 2018, if the Suns want to use the first round pick, it will have to fall between the 11th and 16th picks.
Right.
Now, that's highly unlikely they're going to get it this year. The Bucks are going to make the playoffs.
Very true.
You would think.
Very true.
So, and I mean, the Bucks would have to fall to an 8th seed in the East or something to make that pick possible. Correct. I'm not sure if it's done by record or placement in the standings.
It'll be obviously record,
but like, is it based on seeding? Because obviously we think the West will have better records. The 10th best team in the West is going to have a better record.
Yeah. So I mean, if the Bucks have a worse record than the Timberwolves, then the Bucks get a higher draft pick than them.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not worried about it. I think the Bucks will run away from 2018 with that pick.
And that's what I was skeptical of at first, was that they gave up a first round draft pick and Greg Monroe.
Yeah, I was too when I heard the picks. I was like, whoa. But this the structure of the picks was engineered with the foresight of, okay, well, what if something goes horribly wrong this season, like an injury, God forbid, or something of that nature? Well, that gives us a safety net. Maybe the Bucks fall, they miss the playoffs. Knock on wood. But this gives them a little protection. So if they don't make the playoffs, well, we can still get a top 15 pick. You know what I mean? Then in 2019, it actually shifts more in the Bucks' favor, assuming they keep growing as a team. The pick will have to land, the first round pick will have to land 4 to 16. So that makes the safety net, it makes a safety net for the Bucks a little less. But if you're worried about that, I expect the Bucks to be.
Yeah, hopefully the Bucks not in that situation where they have to unfortunately be one of the bottom 10 teams. I doubt that they'll even be in the lottery these next few years.
Right. Yeah, I agree. 2020, the pick has to fall 8th, between 8th and 30th, including those two. And then 2021, it becomes unprotected, and the Suns can grab whoever they please. But I don't see it getting past 2020. So then the second round, which is likely to go to the Suns next year, it was placed between 48th and 60th. It's especially if the Bucks catch fire or whatever. By the way, if anyone watching wants to weigh in and give us your opinion about this trade, what do you think? What do you think about the trade? You can reach us at on Twitter. That's at real_Aaron_F AARON. And then Tyler_T time. That's the letter T in the word time. So tweet at us or leave a comment down and shoot us a comment down below. But I'll
tell you, I was a little skeptical at first. Like I said, when I heard Greg Monroe plus draft pick, I'm just like, that's a lot to give up for Bledsoe. But I think we just haven't really seen a lot out of Bledsoe in the last few years. One, because of injury, and two, just because of the will to play. Who wants to play in Phoenix when you got nothing around you?
Yeah.
And at one point he was one of 3 star point guards on the team. So,
including Dragic and
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that's where Isaiah came from, yeah.
So, and then he got Brandon Knight over there too. So, the Suns they didn't seem to know what to do with Eric Bledsoe. But
or any of their guards.
We've seen from Eric Bledsoe, times he'll put up 40 in a night, or he'll put up a triple-double. He's an explosive player, and then just from what I saw with him and the Spurs, like I said, him against the Spurs, him and Giannis were just clicking right away, and that's what we need. We don't. I mean, maybe some people don't want to see this, but we don't need Giannis to have the ball 24/7. He needs to be off the ball, moving around, working. He's that good of a player where he's good in every aspect on the floor. So when he's just bringing the ball up every single time because we can't trust somebody, we can't trust our own point, we can't trust Dellavedova to bring the ball up, then that's a problem. So, just that little bit when Bledsoe was on the floor with Giannis, I saw some playoff highlights right there.
Right, exactly. That crazy lob pass off of the Giannis block it was a Henson block, but either way, man. And here's the other thing, what it does for the Bucks, Giannis becomes better off the ball. He'd be even better off the ball if his jump shot's getting more consistent, but if it was what we want it to be, it'd be great. But Giannis can play off the ball, and so can Bledsoe, actually. He had to when he was with John Wall at Kentucky.
Exactly.
So if people are worried about, can these two play on the same court? They're slashers, they need the ball in their hands, and neither of them really are known for their jump shot. But Giannis can draw a crowd, and when he's drawing a crowd, he can kick it out to Bledsoe, who can drive back in, and then Giannis is still open, or kick it out to Middleton. Man, the Bucks offense just gets so much more dynamic with this trade. It sucks that they lose one of their big men who's
not really.
Well,
I'm sorry. From day one, I have not liked Moose being on the Bucks. I used to like Greg Monroe when he was in Detroit and he was playing with Andre Drummond. It just seemed like they had a nice flow going there.
Okay, the reason I was okay. I mean, obviously, I think this is a great trade. But the reason when Monroe left, I was a little nervous about their big man situation was because of how Thon Maker was playing at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Thon did not have a great year. Henson hasn't had big minutes since he's been with the Bucks.
But don't you think it's about time after 5 to 6 years of being, just kind of floating around the second unit?
Yeah,
it's about time he's stepped up. And
we're getting his money's worth out of him.
We better.
But Thon's actually picked it up now. He's been playing much better. He's been playing better defense. He's been getting blocks. He's not made as many bad decisions on offense. I mean, his offensive skills will develop. But
one more thing that I'm really glad about this trade was the whole money ordeal. I'm glad that we got Greg Monroe's contract off of our hands, but we pretty much picked up the same thing with Bledsoe.
Yeah. We're still on the hook next year for Bledsoe, but as long as nothing goes bad,
exactly,
it'll be fine. But this year we cleared $3 million, so say something happens, we Bucks can go sign someone from free agency, or bring on like a D-League player and get some development on for them. So
now, my one concern with this trade, which is a big one for me, what are we going to do with Brogdon? Now, he blended in very nice.
That's a concern for you, huh?
It is. I think everybody's thinking he's just going to turn into the sixth man of the year, which he might. We never know. He's an explosive player. But I really wanted to see more of him this season. And obviously, him having a starting role was huge.
Right.
Just to start off the season. The starting point guard for the team. But I don't know if he'll be able to mold with the second unit. Obviously, this happened in the beginning of the season, so he's got a long time to do it. He's got a while to kind of blend with the team and try to figure out his role now, but he did have a solid game with the Spurs. I think he put up like 20 and...
Yeah, he still had a great game.
Right.
His minutes haven't decreased, and honestly, I thought what they would do at the beginning was Eric Bledsoe maybe come off the bench, but now I see why they need him in the starting lineup. He just gives so much energy.
But Bledsoe is more of an assisting point guard,
right,
though. And Brogdon is a scorer. As much I thought Brogdon would have came out passing a little more this year, but he's very aggressive. He likes to shoot. He likes to drive. He'll give the ball up when he needs to. But Bledsoe is that point guard that the Bucks been looking for how long? When's the last time we had a good point guard?
Man, I don't want anyone to say Brandon Jennings, who's listening to this, because he was shoot first, and
exactly.
Brandon Knight was a little closer, but he was
a
also
shoot first point guard as well.
Yeah,
Gary Payton? We might have to go back to the gloves.
Right.
That's the thing. We tried to turn
TJ Ford.
Okay,
before he hurt his back.
But that's the thing, though. The Bucks has never really had that point guard that's really pass first. I wouldn't say Bledsoe's necessarily pass first, but he's that good of a player where he's been in the league for a while now, and he knows when he needs to pass the ball. So I think that's going to be a huge turnaround for us there.
Sure, yeah. And you know that Brogdon coming into the league was actually officially a shooting guard too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you could still keep. You bump Tony Snell out of the starting lineup, and you could keep Brogdon in. He's still tall enough where he can match up with the two spot.
I'm not the biggest fan of Tony Snell, but I will give him this: we need him on defense. He has to be starting for
that's another
defensive
thing.
purposes.
My God, this
and he's a shooter, and he's a little bit better of a shooter than Brogdon right now. But Tony Snell.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think you could put Brogdon at the 2. As much as I would love to see him in the starting unit, I got him on my fantasy squad.
And he's not as. Brogdon isn't as fast either, so that's like been his. He can't keep up with like Kyrie. He was getting burned by Kyrie that whole
that's true.
entire game.
But who can keep up with Kyrie?
Right.
I've never seen anybody like contain Kyrie.
Eric Bledsoe.
No, nobody in the league.
But Eric Bledsoe, this trade has just brought so much to the Bucks now. Because Eric Bledsoe is also a great on-ball defender too.
Exactly.
He
like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of the trade at first, but you're
warming up to it.
Yeah, I do feel like he's gonna take off, and who knows, he might be obviously they want him to be the second best player on the team.
Right. And you know what impressed me about so far with this the way the Bucks have been playing since they got Bledsoe? This particular lineup with DeAndre Liggins, who I don't think Bucks fans or the Bucks organization really talks about enough. He is like probably their best defender, especially in the backcourt. When they have DeAndre Liggins and right next to Bledsoe, they become that shutdown defensive unit that kid wants. And dude, it was so fun to watch. They've some statistics. with Eric Bledsoe's first 2 games. The Bucks have only allowed on average 88.5 points a game in the 2 games he's been with them. So I don't know if it's too early to call that a trend, but I mean,
right it's out too
of
early.
It's too early, but right out of the gate, man,
I get what you're saying.
Some
for sure,
quality defensive minutes.
Exactly.
And the only concerns here are my concerns about Eric Bledsoe. One, he doesn't have a meniscus in one of his knees. So he's been injured so many times already, but again with technology now, like Jabari Parker looks better than ever. I've seen his workout videos since he's rehabbed from his second ACL tear. He's looked better than ever, but the technology's there, and then also when I was at the game against the Lakers on Saturday, I saw Eric Bledsoe airball 2 threes. It was bad, man. And then another one,
that's not surprising to me.
He hit the side, and then he hit the side of the backboard. So that kind of.
I've never been a huge fan of his 3-point shot, but get him in the mid-range area. He knows. Again, he's just got that. You can tell he's got that basketball IQ right now.
Yeah.
He gets to the free throw line. He's either looking to score aggressively or he's kind of being patient and waiting for Giannis to cut in or Chris Middleton to get open on the outside. He knows what to do in those kind of situations. So exactly. I feel, especially when it comes playoff times, I think he's going to really have a huge role on our team. He's going to be what Kyle Lowry's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe minus 3-point shooting, but again, with those missed shots, I'm gonna chalk that up to being rusty, man. He hadn't played a game in 2 weeks for Phoenix,
exactly.
So he just needs to get it. And he was hitting all of his mid-range shots, so he just needs to get his stroke going, and he'll be fine, man. But
Bucks game update: they're playing Memphis right now. We got 38 Bucks, 38 Memphis.
Yeah, they're all tied.
Second quarter, 9:35 left.
Good game, man. We'll wrap this up in time where we'll be able to, catch the second half, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of that one. But Eric Bledsoe with the Suns, I just want to run by his stats real quick. He played 224 games with the Suns, averaged just shade under 19 points a game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 1.6 steals. 3.4 turnovers, which is a little high, but man, when you have the ball that much, it's bound to happen, like we were talking about with James Harden last week. And then Monroe with the Bucks, he was a solid contributor. I mean, I know you weren't a big fan of him, but in 165 games, he averaged 13.3 points, 7.6 rebounds. He was their leading rebounder before Giannis, had his come to Jesus or whatever. But
my issue with the whole Monroe deal was we were just giving him way too much money. I don't. He's a great player and all that. I wouldn't say great. He's a good player, but he's producing like John Henson instead of producing like we're paying him. He needs to be producing like a Rudy Gobert or one of the top big men in the league. But he never did. I don't know. He was so inconsistent. One game he'd score 25 and have 13 rebounds, and then the next game you see him with 5 and 6, and you're like, what is going on here?
And some of the layups he would miss point blank.
Layups, he would drop the ball. It down. I mean, the people would hit him in the head with the ball. It's just like, what is going on?
Right.
No defense. If anything defense, he was not aware of what was going on. He was just standing there. Seriously, every time. And you could look up so many videos of him just sitting there looking at the guy score in front of him.
Right, and he has an outdated skill set too. I mean, he's a big man who he doesn't really have a jump shot. I've seen him hit the mid ranges before, but not on a consistent basis where you're like, oh, we want him out. You want him in the paint grabbing rebounds. That's what he does best. And I mean, some would argue that he wasn't even the best at rebounds, but and if this says anything to maybe Greg Monroe, not trying to bash him at all, but Phoenix they just went after him because they know they can get stuff for him. So they're just using him as a trade chip. They're going to turn him over again and get some more draft picks because that's what they need.
Exactly.
They're a young team and
somebody needs a Greg Monroe in their team.
They do.
It's just not the Bucks. He did not fit in our scheme.
Clogging up the paint for Giannis.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It makes it hard for Giannis to drive. And yeah, man, I'm really happy with this trade as a Bucks fan. I think this makes the Bucks so much more dynamic on both sides of the ball. And here's another thing. I forgot to say this before. When I was watching the two games so far, I noticed one thing that I don't see a lot on the Bucks teams in the last 2 years. Someone's actually directing the players on defense besides
Exactly.
Jason Terry. I see him pointing around and patting him on the back like, no, go over here, cover this guy or switch, get, and as a result, I've seen a lot less wide open threes, a lot of, Bucks just scrambling to get to the corner three, which is their biggest, Achilles heel. It's allowing that corner three, and maybe as a result of that rebounding, the Bucks are the worst rebounding team in the league, or maybe 29th now. But that'll help too, because if he's telling John Henson, get in the paint on this possession and grab that rebound, and Henson's been a great rebounder since he's gotten his full-time minutes with Greg Monroe off the court. Do you think we've beaten this trade to death yet, or?
Yeah, we gotta move on from Bucks news. As much as I would love to talk about them.
You know what I'll have to do is make just a Bucks podcast on the side, and then everyone can listen to me talk about the Bucks for an hour.
But actually, while we're talking about the Bucks, we got to talk about Giannis.
We're gonna keep talking about him. Giannis never leaves the conversation, and I'm sure
as he shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't.
Not playing like this.
Top MVP candidate, man.
Yeah.
So against Cavs, he turns in another great 40-point performance. His second or third of the year. I think it's the second.
I think it might be third.
Could be.
It's hard to keep up now.
Right. And he's so fast. 40 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 blocks against the Cavs. And
Just unbelievable.
He's still leading the league in scoring, 31.7 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 1.8 blocks, 1.4 steals.
You see it so many times where hot players in the league get to teams like, especially LeBron's team, usually when he played for the Heat or the Cavs or whoever, they get to those teams and they choke. And, they don't perform like they're supposed to. I remember when Jeremy Lin was the hottest player in the NBA, and he got to Miami, and they made him look like he was a high school player.
Right.
But Giannis is just time after time. The Spurs, the Cavs, he's showing that he deserves he deserves the title that we're giving him. And, MVP is, as of right now, for this, 4 weeks of NBA? 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, this is the fourth. This is the beginning of the 5th week now. So for 4 weeks, he's led the NBA in scoring. Last time a Buck did that was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Unbelievable.
So, and he, in the first 6 games, he was the highest scoring player in Bucks history. He had the hottest start to the season. So, man, you know what I'm going to do next year? And when I get my tax returns, I could probably do it now. But I think I'm going to get one of those Bucks license plates and put Eurostep on it, but I'm going to spell Euro Gyro. Like Greek.
Oh, you might have just gave me an idea.
You better not steal it, I swear to God.
See, you got to keep things like that a secret, man. You can't let that slip.
What am I doing? That was
one of our millions of fans are gonna definitely steal that idea.
So dumb. I got to do it now.
Yeah.
So we got another top performer. Oh man, we didn't even. Slides are behind. So
moves.
Yeah. So yeah, top performer. There's Giannis throwing down a dunk. So no, it's nothing new. But next top performer of the league, we go from your fantasy team to mine. Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. He had a career high, 41 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals.
Throwing around the back passes and over the head and just shooting, dunking, just doing everything. And he's looking good.
He's the Serbian sensation, man. He's
I like that.
He's averaging 17.2 points per game, just shade under 12 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists, 1.5 steals. So for a big man,
pretty solid for a big man.
He's got the 3-point shot, man. I've watched some Denver Nuggets highlights. He's been draining the three quite consistently, man. Yeah. So that's good. They have a stretch 5 now, and I think this Denver team is they're right about, they're right around the corner of taking that next step. They just need someone from their backcourt to emerge, and we gotta pick it up here, man. We're not gonna even catch the second half, but let's move on to T.J. Warren. That's a name we haven't called at all on our podcast so far this season.
Not yet.
He's an emerging star out of Phoenix. You have Devin Booker.
Well, I wouldn't even say emerging. He's kind of been solid over there, but nothing to what he's done over the last week or so.
Yeah, last week he's put up 2 great games. First, he put up 40 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and then just the other night, 35 points, 6 rebounds. So he's the scorer that can complement Devin Booker over there. And what do you know? Maybe we see a new core forming in the wake of the Eric Bledsoe trade. But our last top performer, and I didn't even realize he had a very quiet, a solid week, but it was quiet. It kind of went under my radar until I was watching highlight videos a couple nights ago. Paul George, first Oklahoma City Thunder player that we've really mentioned. We haven't really talked too highly of the Thunder. They've started out 6-7. They were 4-6, or 4-7, I believe. So they won their last 2. But over there, they've been struggling to find some synergy between Carmelo, Westbrook, and Paul George. But Carmelo did miss a couple games, and Paul George took advantage of that. He scored 42 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, just shy of a triple-double against the LA Clippers, who are a very they're no easy team out there in the West.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. I really can't wait to see what they end up doing. And when you got 3 players that can put up numbers like he did any night, and they don't have to do it every single night. They can rely on each other to step up and have big games. It's pretty scary, man. Especially when you get to playoff time,
right?
When it really counts, you don't have players overworking themselves. Mm-hmm. You don't have Russell Westbrook trying to put up 40 points every single night.
We've seen also Paul George fall into the niche of corner 3-point shooter, and then a couple nights ago against Dallas to continue his hot week, he had 37 points. 8 rebounds, 5 assists, but get this, he hit 7 threes. He went 7 for 12 from behind the arc, and it looked like in the highlights I was watching, a lot of them were from the corner. So
yeah.
He's been that.
That's his favorite spot there.
He's always been known for hitting the corner 3. That's kind of his hot spot. But yeah, man, that's top performers for the week. Hopefully we have some new names up there. It's always nice to see new players get their names out and with the career highs. We've already seen a lot of career highs this year, including Giannis. So everyone, all of our listeners, you should play a drinking game every time we mention Giannis. That's a shot. Right? You want to look at the standings real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's see them.
So take a quick glance. We're not going to analyze them too much, but just point out some records that maybe we see, kind of stand out at us. Hawks have only won 2 games. That's not surprising. They're 2-11 at the bottom of the Southeast.
It might be at the bottom of the East.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah, because Chicago's only won 2 games, but they just haven't lost as many. But Detroit Pistons on second best record in the East right now. I think we mentioned them earlier tonight.
Very surprising.
Right. Reggie Jackson, Avery Bradley. I think Avery Bradley was a huge pickup for them in that trade for, what was it, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Yep.
Who's now with the Lakers.
KCP.
So yeah, Avery Bradley comes over to the Pistons, and he's been that solid defender that he was in the playoffs over at Boston. Toronto Raptors, I mean, in the Atlantic's going to be a tough division. The Sixers are coming up. The Knicks are playing well. Porzingis has been playing like a monster. He's in the MVP conversation for sure. Without Porzingis, I don't think the Knicks would be anything. You'd have the likes of Tim Hardaway Jr. leading your offensive unit. Joakim Noah's coming back, by the way. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Off of that PED suspension.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the only thing that'll keep him on the floor, really. I give him 5 games before he's on the bench again.
Before he's injured?
You're right. In the West, best team in the West right now, Houston Rockets, all without Chris Paul. They're 11-3. They finally beat the Grizzlies the other night. They couldn't seem to beat the Grizzlies, and it's interesting. They play Memphis their 4th and final time already for the year, and it's not even December yet. They play them this week sometime, I think right after Milwaukee gets done with them. So that's kind of a weird schedule note. But the Southwest Division, they're the second most fun division to watch. That's my prediction for this year. The most fun division I think is going to be to watch is the Northwest on the Western Conference. We got Oklahoma City Thunder, Portland Trail Blazers, Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets. All those teams, I think, all 4 of those teams, and maybe even the Utah Jazz could be in the playoffs.
That's going to be a very close race there. Very close.
Especially the Timberwolves can't seem to figure it out on defense right now. Karl Anthony Towns is not a good post defender. I've heard so much talk about it, man. He's got like he just can't. He just stands there, But he's great on offense. So if the Timberwolves pick it up defensively, I think they could be a top 4 or maybe sneak in as the 5 seed in the West. But
true.
Golden State Warriors are 10-3, no surprise there. But yeah, just kind of a look around the league. Pacers were off to a hot start, but they've kind of come back down to earth. Victor Oladipo's given them a spark, but Brooklyn Nets. It was a right area. Right?
Yeah,
they were off to a hot start as well, but they're 5-8. We expect them to finish at the bottom of the Atlantic, but I think we've discussed enough NBA now for the night, man. I think it's time for us to get out of here. What do you say?
How about them Packers?
Yeah,
buddy.
You got that right. Maybe we can start
going to the Super Bowl.
I don't know about that. That's all the time we have. Have a good one. Peace.